Hey there, and thank you for listening to the Dream Center Peoria podcast. Dream Center Peoria exists to impact families living in poverty, starting with kids and youth. If you want to learn more about what we're up to at the Dream Center, you can find us online at dreamcenterpeoria.org or on social media at Dream Center Peoria. Thanks for listening.
Well, hi, my name's Andy King, and I'm the Executive Director here at Dream Center Peoria. And welcome to another edition of our podcast that we're running right now called New Realities. And as you can imagine, during the coronavirus pandemic that's going on, we've wanted to try and just stay connected with a lot of people throughout the community, people who are connected to the Dream Center, people who are connected to the city, and really just share some of the stories that are still happening and have been happening up to this point. And today we have Deborah with us. And Deborah is an amazing volunteer that we have at the Dream Center in many, many areas. And so I thought today it'd be cool just to connect with her and talk to her a bit about her journey, not just her individual journey, but as a family as well. And really just find out about the heart of a volunteer and what makes some of our volunteers tick, because they're incredible. And literally a lot of the people that we see serving at the Dream Center go above and beyond in serving the families that we serve. And Deborah is one of those. So how are you doing, Deborah?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I know you've got some young kids, so this time must be pretty crazy for you. Just trying to keep them entertained. Yeah. But I thank you for just spending a bit of time with us today.
Yeah.
How long was it when you first started coming into our office area and just helping with Brian and some of the other staff members that we have? How long has that been? I was trying to work it out earlier.
That particular time frame was about 2 years ago, coming up on 2 years. It was like right before the Love Peoria campaign.
Okay.
I actually found the Dream Center about 6 years ago. So I had, at that time, 2 boys under the age of 2, and I was kind of feeling like I need to get outside of this isolated mom bubble and move into an area where I've always been bent towards just serving and volunteering. And so I started to just look online at places around town. I didn't know anything about the Dream Center, nothing really about volunteerism in Peoria. And I looked online and I found the Dream Center. So I went into the Hope store. One of the volunteers hooked me up with the times and whatnot. And I had my 2-year-old with me, and then I had the other one strapped to my chest in the baby Bjorn carrier. And we sat there and we just folded baby clothes and folded stuff. But it took one time, and I'm like, you know what? I think my ministry right now is motherhood, because at that time frame, they were, like I said, 2 under 2. So then fast forward 6 years or so, both of my children were then starting traditional school full time. And I just knew if I didn't make it a priority to sign up to serve somewhere, that life was going to take over. I was going to have that schedule jam-packed, even though I was a stay-at-home mom with nothing else on my calendar. So again, I looked online just to see what else had come up over the years. And I had known about Dream Center through my church as well. And so I looked online, and the Career Center was a new ministry outreach, kind of through a facet of the Hope store that had just started in September. And
Do you want to just tell us a bit about what the Hope store is?
Yes.
Because I think that will then paint the picture then about the Career Center, you know.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So the Hope store is kind of like a secondhand store that you would see here in town. However, all the donations that come in are then given out for free. And they are open to the public 2 times a month, which is the first Thursday and the third Saturday. And then we're also open every Tuesday and Thursday for the women in the shelter, for people who have appointments, emergency situations. And so there are volunteers there every Tuesday and Thursday in the morning around the clock around the year. So that's kind of what I started into. And then the Career Center is a facet of that. It's kind of like a boutique. It's set up like a store. It's one-on-one personal shopping for people who are looking for a job interview outfit or a specific career related clothing, such as like if you're in a factory, you need a steel-toed boot, or you're in the service industry and for restaurants and you need black pants and a white shirt. So we help them shop one-on-one and just give them extra attention and minister to them and hear their stories. And then they can get everything they need for a week worth for free. And so that's kind of where I got my foot in the door. And then as I was volunteering there, Love Peoria campaign was coming up. And again, my kids were in school full time. I'm a stay-at-home mom. And so I'm like, I have so much time on my hands. I need to fill this up. And I just love what the Dream Center is about. So I talked to Brian about what he needed, and they needed office help at that time. So then I kind of would do my mornings down in the Hope Store in the Career Center, and then I'd do all my afternoon stuff up in the office. And I just got to meet not only the volunteers downstairs, but then the paid staff and the corporate people upstairs. Then I worked with up there for a while. So I've kind of been hopping around.
Yeah. And we love what you do. I mean,
thank you.
I think one of the things that I love, and you mentioned about your kids, and that there was a season where you knew, okay, I can't do this right now, but there was a season where you felt you could step into it. And you know, we have an amazing team at the Hope Store. Yes, we're only open twice a month, and then we're open for any emergencies. But we have people working, volunteering at the Dream Center in the Hope Store many days of the week. And there is an incredible team that has come out of that. And also not only a great team, there's been great vision. When you think the Hope Store, not many people would know this, but my wife actually helped launch the Hope Store in the facility that it's at right now in the Dream Center. And back then, even back then in the early days, we had an amazing volunteer team. And from that passion, we then have seen things like the Career Center open. We've seen Promise of Hope start, which is where we serve 200 to 300 girls prom dresses around prom season, which is an incredible day in itself. And one of these podcasts we'll have Sherry on to talk about that. But that's what I love about the Hope Store. The volunteers don't just stay focused on what they're doing right there, but they look at other ways to impact. And you've been along for the ride with your kids. And I know sometimes it can get scary, or people think it can be scary down at the Dream Center with kids. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
So beginning of this school year, I felt very called to homeschool my children. So we stepped into everything homeschooling. And when I was feeling that pull from the Lord to do that, I really cried out to him, because I'm like, my heart had been so stirred to volunteer. And I knew that if I was going to do homeschooling, how was I going to do that serving while still having to minister full time in the education realm with my children? And I felt very clearly the Lord say, you don't have to give up volunteering to do that. Those can be two in the same. There is value in book smarts and there's value in street smarts. So let's combine the two. And so what'll be over a year now, my kids have been coming with me every Tuesday and Thursday, and they serve right alongside of me. They don't bring iPads or anything like that. Like, I have them incorporated into that. And they're kids, they're 7 and 9. So of course there's not 100% of them being super involved, but they do what they can. And they, when we pray with people, they're standing right there. They know the rules. I give them rules on when it's appropriate to be around and when it's not, and when it's appropriate to be hands-on and when it's not. And it's been so seamless. It's something they look forward to. It's just something that's so naturally a part of our family now. I would never hesitate or regret ever including them in this time. It took maybe a month before my children were driving down the road and being like, oh, I know that person from the Hope Store, and I know that guy's name, and have you followed up with so-and-so? And it's so clearly just in their DNA now. And it took no time at all for them to catch on. So then that motivates me to want to do it more too. When we're in it together as a family, it's not just my thing, it's our thing, and it's for God. So it pleases him. And it rounds out the whole bubble to be so fulfilling, because
that's so good. That's so good. When we in the early days of Dream Center, and when there wasn't as many volunteers and things like that, and when Teresa was helping get the Hope Store going, our kids were right alongside. We've homeschooled. Two of them are now graduated, but and it comes with the good and the bad. I mean, I remember one day we were down there sorting things out, and Joy, she was about, I don't know, 5, 6. I'm terrible on ages. She probably was older than that. But,
yeah.
But we were back there, and as you know, the Hope Store, people donate anything and everything.
Yes.
And she was walking, and we just heard her like crying. We're like, what's wrong? And I looked down, and someone had donated a fishing rod.
Oh, no.
And the hook had gone into her toe, and it was barbed. And so I remember, okay, we're off to
right.
ER, and they got to numb it, and but we remember that.
Yeah.
Even though it was a bad side of things, it was still a family thing. If we were still down there serving, and
it's all part of that education,
Yeah, totally is. And so your journey, you've carried on doing what you do at the Hope Store, the Career Center, but then in the last few years, you've started visiting other Dream Centers around the globe, right? Which is crazy. Can you tell us, I know just recently you were in the Ukraine visiting a Dream Center, which way back when they were starting, I remember having many phone conversations with them, like, okay, how do you do this? I'm like, you just got to do it, but they're doing an incredible job. Sasha over there is doing an incredible job. Tell us a bit about that, because we're talking like days before the coronavirus hit.
Yes.
When you were there.
100%. So that kind of fell into our laps. It was not something that we had sought out at all. I didn't even know there was a Dream Center over there until, God just puts those things in his timeline in the right path at the right time. And it just comes together so seamlessly, where in hindsight, I'm like, oh, I see what you were doing, God, this whole time. So through church, our church had started the Dream Center in Ukraine many, many years ago. And we used to send teams of missions teams over there just to kind of help them in their endeavors there. And it had been quite some time, like almost 10 years since we sent some team members over there. And so they had reached out to myself and my husband to see if we would go over and kind of scout out what it would look like now 10 years later to send another team over there. And of course, we just loved the idea of it. We just absolutely loved the idea. We got to meet Pastor Sasha as he came to America not too long ago, and we just fell in love with him. And so we again asked, like, can we bring our kids? And so they were so on board with that. They loved the ideas. So we all boarded a plane and went. Literally, we landed in Ukraine the night before President Trump made the travel ban announcement. So we woke up to that news, and we're only able to stay for about 3 days total before we had to head back. But in that amount of time, it's just unreal to be around people from all over the globe who are we're all like-minded. We're all like-hearted. We have that instant bond with our relationship with the Lord. We have that instant bond of where our heart is for our community, for other people to know the Lord, for other people to have those physical needs met and their spiritual needs met. And they have a beautiful facility. They have a huge following. They actually need to expand their church base because they don't even have enough room anymore. Their youth are on fire, and they're just open to their neighborhood and to the community. And it's just to be around people like that. It's very infectious, for lack of better words in this time. Yeah. But it really is. And it just stirs your heart even more to come back and be like, wow, like I'm just so inspired to keep going.
Yeah. Well, you did a trip about a year and a half ago, something like that, to the LA Dream Center, which is where all this started. I've been in contact with Matthew, who's the executive director out there. They are right now, because LA and where they're located, are doing literally an 11-hour feed-in program.
Wow.
They've been going for 19 days now. I saw as of last Friday, they'd served 110,000 meals.
Wow.
And they're round the clock, because where they are and with the schools closing, the families don't have anywhere to go for food. And so they're just doing a drive-in type of car, type of assembly. I'm not sure if you know this, but we in October are going to welcome Matthew Barnett to Peoria.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and he's going to be speaking at our end of year banquet this year.
Oh, awesome.
And it's going to be awesome because we're going to be out at the Louisville Slugger Dome this year.
Yes.
And Matthew Barnett's going to come in for that. So he's going to have some incredible stories to tell. He's got incredible stories to tell anyway, but with what they're going through right now, he's just launched a new book that's just come out. And so I know Dream Centers are dear and right at the heart of what you do, and we appreciate what you do. I know you're also involved with a new program that we've just launched. We've only done it once, and then the coronavirus stopped quite a bit of stuff. But Here for Good, which is a neighborhood ministry going right into the neighborhood right next to where the Dream Center is, across 74. Can you just share with us what drove you to that as well? Because again, I think sometimes there's a fear factor that comes into people's minds, especially when you're going into areas where you're not from, and you're serving people that you don't know. Can you just tell us a bit about that journey?
Yes. So Here for Good, for those who don't know, it's a neighborhood ministry. We go to the same blocks in the North Valley, a group of us. We knock on the same doors, and we just connect with the same people. And we're not there to tell them we're here to fill a need, other than the need being like relational and bringing the unity back into community. And so that always is a positive thing for me. That definitely caught my attention. That type of outreach to me is very similar to the Hope Store. It's just without the walls of the Hope Store. It's just going out into your community and doing the very thing that we would do within the Dream Center. So it just seemed like a natural progression. I'm also involved in street ministry, which to me was very similar to this as well. So again, my husband and my kids, we all do it together. We went this first month in March. It was a beautiful morning. We had a large group because there were some people there who were just kind of testing the waters. So they didn't want to sign up quite yet, but they wanted to see what it was like. So we had several of those people with us. And oh my gosh, I thought I was ready for Here for Good, but it really blew us away. Our whole team was blown away at how wonderful it went. The neighbors came out and were so welcoming. They were saying, it's about time you guys showed up. We are ready for you. We can't wait to do this. They would spend, if we let them, they would have talked all morning with us on the street, telling us about how long they've been living there, 20, 30 years. They've been married 50 years, like just all different people, ages, genders coming out and just loving that we were there. And it took the walls that we can kind of put up that we self-talk out of why we shouldn't be there. And it just instantly broke those down. It was like, all right, let's go to a couple more neighborhoods. I mean, everyone was blown away. And it was very successful. So to fast forward to this month, to have that momentum kind of break down, at first you think like, oh my gosh, like the momentum's broken down, for lack of better words. But you know, God knows what he's doing, and he's still a big God, and he's so in control. So it just causes us to lean into, okay, how can we be more creative? How do we keep those bonds going? We weren't corporately going out this month, but I know people that are doing quick porch drop-offs of just handwritten notes, just connecting and saying, hey, we haven't forgotten about you. We're praying for you. You're on our hearts. And that's where bonds are brought close together anyway, is through adversity. And just those little quick drop-ins is just sometimes what someone needs to have that like reinvigorated energy when you're kind of stuck at home and just like, oh, how long is this going to go on? Yeah. So we're excited to see where this goes. It was really successful. Good.
And for those who may have been around Dream Centers, our Dream Center or followed LA Dream Center. Really, that we've just come back to our roots. The first program that we ever did at the Dream Center was Adopt a Block, and it basically we've taken Adopt a Block and just put a new name on it, made it a little bit different so people can come and be a part of it. But that's what it is. It's just going door to door and just like you said, trying to be relational. And so we know, I mean, we had to on a Dream Center side, there was some guidance that we obviously had to take with the virus, and so we couldn't come together as a group. But we do know there's folks that for their exercise, a prayer walk-in, or picking up trash in that neighborhood that have been connected. Just meeting as a group was something that the city just didn't want us to encourage, and we understand totally.
Sure. Yes.
So we're really, really glad, and we just know God's gonna do something beyond what we're even thinking as we get back out there.
Yeah.
Just in closing, can you just tell us a little bit about some of the stories, some of the people you've met, some of the things that the transforming type of things that you've seen, and why you would encourage others to get involved in what we're doing, because every volunteer has a different story, and I'd just love to hear some of your stories.
I'd say the first transformation would be myself. I walked in kind of naively thinking, I'm young, I'm healthy, I can go in and help some people. But really God's like, yeah, you're going to be helped out too. Like, I'm going to do a work on you too. And the volunteers, there's a shout out just to some of the people at the Hope Store, have been there for 10 years or so. I know a woman named Rosa who's there, and all she does is stand in the back and organize clothes. And she has been doing that faithfully for 10 years. And there are many, many, many others, specifically in the Hope Store, men and women that have been there a long time. And what a testament to the Dream Center that clearly something's working, that the impacts are being made for someone to stay on that long. But that being around people like that, the OGs of the volunteers who have been, like, seriously, they pour into me and my children. And so it's a ministry within a ministry just to be a volunteer. So first and foremost, I just want to give a shout out to them. People that come into the Hope Store that we serve and have the privilege of serving, they come in with a heaviness about them often, that they have a list of physical needs that need to be met. And because they're so weighed down by just keeping their head above water, they're weighed down by just trying to survive that day, they forget that it's a privilege or a luxury for them to dream, to hope, to think about the next day or the future of their children or the future of their selves. And so we have an opportunity to walk in there and meet them with the physical need, and then come alongside them for the spiritual need, like I said before, and just talk with them, just connect with them, and help pull out that junk that's inside of them. And so we've seen veterans come in right off the street. They'll have a backpack, nothing else but a backpack is what they survive on. And so to have them, first of all, we just want to serve and honor people who have served our country. So we love on them, and we help fill them with everything that they need. And they're always so joyful and so thankful. We've seen families of 5 or 6 young children with no shoes on, no socks, and the kids don't even know that that's their normal. So to come in and be able to give them a fresh pair of socks or a pair of shoes and a book, it just brightens their day. They're laughing and running around, and we treat them as everyone should, as you are okay, just the way that you are. Come as you are. Come as you are. That's how God wants us. We've seen people who work in the Peoria 150 school district who come and shop for their students at school who they know don't have clothes, or the pregnant moms that are unfortunately in high school they don't have the right proper care. So they come in and get the care needs they need for that. We have repeat people that they're just in a hard place. And this is such a wonderful service for them, because it is what they need to just get by. They're hardworking people. They do have jobs, but it's still not enough to get their ends to meet. And so they come in every once in a while for diapers or whatever the physical need may be. We've had people that come into the career center. I had a woman that as soon as she just turned the corner into the career center, she just lost it. She was crying and just sobbing, because the idea of having hope that she was going to find what she needed just broke open this wall that she had. And we were able to find her all these needs that she had, and just talk with her and love on her. And it's so awesome that this setting is the way that it is, because you can see that God cares about the details. He cares that you're a size 13 and you need that black shoe for work. He always provides. We talk about it all the time back in the store. Every time someone comes in with a desperate need, God just pulls it out of a bag somewhere, and it just comes. I mean, the craziest sizes, the craziest needs, they're always met. And those people see that tangible item as a reminder of, okay, I do have hope. God cared about this one item, and God cared to bring that person to donate that item, who's cheering me on through that tangible item to make it. We've had just our family alone has had some great relationships come out of people that we've met there, to the point where we do life together. I go to their children's school related events, or they've come over here for childcare, and we truly do life together. And it's, not everything is a quick, easy story. It's a lot of getting in the trenches with people. It's a lot of getting into the deep, dark, dirty, hard places, the stuff that keeps you up at night. But we know where our hope comes from. We know who's in control, and we have the ability and the privilege of having a strong support team helping us. So we want to do that for them. And a cool success story would be a family that we have come up alongside. She is positioned where she lives in her neighborhood. She sits out on her porch. And now the neighbor kids come by and walk by her house to get to the school and the bus stop. And she said the teenagers are coming over who go to an alternative school right near her and saying, "Thank you for being there. Thank you for speaking life into me. Thank you for just waving at me. My mom passed away, and now I look at you as my mom." And so we filled her with hope, and now she's turning around and overfilling onto other people. And that's just like, that's ministry. That's discipleship right there.
Yes, that's good.
That's what keeps me coming back, because once you taste the goodness, once you see that transformation, you can't help but to just want to spread that out as far as it can go.
That's so good. I have said it for so many years that when it comes to helping families, especially families that are finding it hard, that the one thing that wins is consistency.
Yes.
And being there.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the things that we do at the Dream Center, whether it's our after school program, or even with the shelter, with the people that come to the Hope Store, it's the consistency of being there that wins in the day. When you've got a kid that comes to the Dream Center at 6 years of age, we've now got a long journey till they leave school at 18. And the only thing that helps build that relationship one-on-one, but also a relationship with God, is a consistency of knowing someone is going to be there along the journey, and the good days and the bad days. And so I'm thankful for volunteers who see that and get that. And we love, like I said, we love all our volunteers, anyone who serves at the Dream Center. But for those individuals who feel a calling, okay, and there's a difference between actually serving and then a calling to change lifestyle, whether that's location, whether that's job, whether that's schedule, to be there 3 days a week, whatever it is. We know that God rewards in totally different ways. It's not a financial thing. It's not a you're going to get something physically, but there's just something within that God is going to bless your life in different ways. And so I just today wanted to thank you, Deborah, for everything you're doing. And I know that we have got a lot more journeying to do. There are some things that God's stirring in me a little bit that I know that you'll be in the forefront of when they start coming out. But there's just things that obviously, as we see need, we want to fill it, and we thank God for you and your family being a part of that. So again, if you're wanting to get involved with the Dream Center, and especially be a part of this journey that Deborah and so many others are involved in, the best place to go is to dreamcenterpeoria.org and click the Get Involved button. And then Sherry, our volunteer coordinator, will get in touch with you. We'll find your skills and your strengths, and we'll position you where you'll feel comfortable. And from there, you will start to see things happening in your life, just like Deborah has and so many other volunteers, to be able to really make an impact on people's lives and journey with them as well. So start at dreamcenterpeoria.org. Follow us on social media at Dream Center Peoria, and you'll be able to find out all the different things that are happening. And again, thank you for tuning in. Deborah, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And we will see you next time. God bless.
Thanks again for listening to the Dream Center Peoria podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you know of anyone that would be interested in hearing about what we just talked about, we would encourage you to share this episode with them. Be sure to stay tuned for future episodes. Thanks.